Captain Day Wan stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, staring at the endless stars outside the viewport. His ship had been mapping the outer regions of space for 3 months now. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Humanity needed to know what was out there. The horizon's edge was a small survey vessel. It carried a crew of 43 people and enough supplies for 6 months. They traveled from system to system, scanning planets and recording data. Most days were quiet. Too quiet. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Jiwoo said from her station. She was the communications officer responsible for monitoring all signals in space. Her fingers moved quickly across her console. Daewon walked over to her. "What kind of strange?" "A signal. It's repeating over and over." Jiwoo frowned at her screen. "But it's not from any human colony. The pattern is completely different from anything we use." Daewon felt his heart beat faster. In 85 years of space travel, humans had found empty planets, interesting rocks, and lots of silence. They had never found another intelligent species. "Can you decode it?" "I'm trying. Give me a few minutes." Jiwoo put on her headphones and started working. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she ran the signal through different translation programs. Daewon called Dr. Hai-jin to the bridge. She was the ship's xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. If this signal was real, she would want to see it. Hai-jin arrived quickly, her eyes bright with excitement. "Is it true? An alien signal?" "We don't know yet," Daewon said. "Jiwoo is working on it." They waited in tense silence. The bridge crew had stopped their normal work to watch. Everyone knew this could be the most important moment in human history. After 20 minutes, Jiwoo pulled off her headphones. Her face was pale. "Captain, you need to hear this." She played the decoded message through the bridge speakers. A mechanical voice spoke in clear English, though the accent was strange and halting. "To any sentient species within range. This is an automated distress beacon. We are the Kethran, the Moru, and the Bashnai peoples. We have been slaves of the Velian Empire for 300 cycles. Our worlds are not our own. Our children are taken from us. Our lives are not valued. We send this message knowing it may reach no one. We send it anyway. If you can hear this, if you have the power to help, please send mercy, send hope. We are dying." The message repeated in different languages. Jiwoo had counted 127 so far. The bridge was completely silent. Daewon felt sick to his stomach. Slavery. 300 years of slavery. "There's more," Jiwoo said quietly. "The signal includes coordinates to multiple star systems, and there's biological data about the species asking for help." Hai-jin was already studying the data on her tablet. "These are herbivore species, peaceful by nature. Their biology shows no natural weapons, no aggressive traits." She looked up at Daewon. "They can't fight back. That's probably why they were enslaved." "What about their oppressors?" Daewon asked. "The Velians?" "The data on them is fragmentary," Hai-jin said, scrolling through information. "But what's here is concerning. They're described as a warrior culture, predatory. They've conquered 47 star systems." Daewon walked back to the viewport. 47 star systems. Humanity had barely managed to colonize 12. "How far away are these coordinates?" "The nearest system is about 3 weeks at maximum slip space speed," the navigator reported. "The furthest is 2 months away." Daewon rubbed his face with both hands. This was beyond his authority, way beyond. He was a survey captain, not a military commander. "Jiwoo, can you verify this signal is genuine? Could it be a trap?" Jiwoo worked for another hour, running every test she knew. Finally, she shook her head. "Sir, I can't find any evidence of deception. The signal has been broadcasting for at least 10 years based on its degradation. It's automated, probably set up by someone who's long dead." 10 years. Someone had sent this message 10 years ago and never gotten a response. Maybe they had given up hope. Maybe they were already dead. "What do we do, Captain?" Ye-Jin asked softly. It was the question Dae-won had been dreading. They could ignore the signal, pretend they never heard it, continue their survey mission, and go home in 3 months. Nobody would blame them. This wasn't their fight. But he kept thinking about the voice in that message. The desperation. 300 years of slavery. Children being taken from their parents. "We can't fight an empire," his first officer said. "We're a survey ship. We have no weapons." "I know," Dae-won said. "But we can report this. We can tell Earth what we found." "And what will Earth do?" the first officer asked. "We've avoided alien contact for 85 years. We're not ready for this." Dae-won thought about his own children back on Earth, safe, free. He thought about what it would mean if someone took them away and he couldn't stop it. "Record everything," he ordered. "All the data, the message, the coordinates, the biological information, everything. Prepare a secure transmission to Earth Fleet Command." "Sir, are you sure?" Ji-woo asked. "No," Dae-won admitted. "But I know what's right. Someone asked for help. We heard them. We have to answer." He composed a message to Fleet Admiral Tae-jin, the highest military commander in Earth's forces. He explained the situation clearly and attached all the data. At the end, he added his own thoughts. "Sir, I know this is unprecedented. I know this could mean war with a species we know nothing about. But I cannot ignore this. These people are suffering. They asked for help. If we have the power to respond and we choose not to, what does that say about us? I await your orders." He sent the transmission. It would take 2 days to reach Earth. The crew waited nervously. Some thought they had done the right thing. Others worried they had just started a war humanity couldn't win. 2 days later, the response came. It was short, direct, very typical of Admiral Tae-jin. "Message received and understood. Maintain position. Do not approach the coordinates. We are coming. Prepare the battle groups." Dae-won read the message 3 times. Battle groups, plural. The Admiral wasn't sending one ship. He was sending an armada. Ye-jin stood beside him, reading over his shoulder. "They're really going to do it. They're going to help. Or start the biggest war in human history," the first officer muttered. Dae-won didn't respond. He just stared at the stars, thinking about a desperate message sent 10 years ago into the void. Someone had cried for help, never expecting an answer. They were about to get one. And Dae-won prayed they had done the right thing. Subin's hands shook as she worked in the communications archive. The Velian guards would make their rounds in 10 minutes. She had to finish before then. She was a Kethran, a slave on her own homeworld. Her people had been conquered before she was born. Her grandmother told stories of freedom, but Subin had never known it. She worked in the Imperial archives, maintaining old communication equipment that the Velians barely understood. 3 weeks ago, the Velians had executed her family. Her crime? Her brother had looked a Velian officer in the eye. That was considered disrespectful. The punishment was death for the entire family. They had missed Subin. She had been working a double shift when they came. When she returned home, her family was gone. Something broke inside her that day. Fear died. Anger replaced it. She accessed the ancient long-range communication array, a system the Velians never used. They preferred their own modern networks. But Subin had learned this old technology. She had programmed a message in 127 languages, included coordinates to every slave world, and added biological data about her people and their oppressors. She knew nobody would answer. The galaxy was big and empty, but she sent it anyway. It made her feel like she had done something, anything, to fight back. Now, 3 weeks later, she worked in the same archives, waiting to die. The Velians would find out eventually, they always did. The door burst open. Subin jumped, her heart racing. A Velian security officer stood there. "You! Come with me! Now!" Subin followed, certain this was the end. They walked through the sterile white corridors of the Imperial complex. Other Kethran slaves stepped aside, keeping their eyes down. Nobody helped slaves. They reached the Central Command Center. Dozens of Velian officers stood around holographic displays. At the center stood Imperator Krell himself, the Emperor of the Velian Empire. Krell was enormous, even for a Velian. His scaled skin was deep red, a sign of his royal bloodline. His forearms crossed over his chest as he studied a display. "Someone sent an unauthorized transmission from this facility 3 weeks ago," Krell said, his voice like grinding stones. "Find them. Execute them." Subin's blood ran cold. They knew. But before the security officers could start searching, an alarm blared. Every display in the room changed to show the same thing, an incoming signal. "What is this?" Krell demanded. A communications officer, her scales pale yellow, worked frantically at her console. "Sire, it's a response to the unauthorized slave transmission." Someone answered. The room fell silent. Subin couldn't breathe. Someone had answered? That was impossible. "Play it," Krell ordered. A new voice filled the command center. It spoke in Velian language, but the accent was strange. "This is Fleet Admiral Tae Jin of Earth Fleet Command. We received your distress call. We are coming to investigate. Stand by." Laughter exploded through the command center. Velian officers roared with amusement. Krell himself smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Earth?" Krell said. "I don't know this world. Find it in the database." The communications officer searched quickly. "Sire, Earth is a minor world in Sector 779. They achieved space travel only 85 cycles ago. They control 12 systems, all in their immediate region. They have never engaged in interstellar conflict." More laughter. A warrior commander slapped his knee with one of his forearms. "A baby species dares to answer the slaves crying?" Krell leaned back in his command throne. "This is amusing. Send them a reply. Tell them to kneel before the Velian Empire or be destroyed. Give them 10 days to respond." "Sire, should we not gather intelligence first? We know nothing about their capabilities." "Silence!" Krell roared. "They are infants in the galaxy. We have conquered 47 systems. We have crushed species far older than them. Send the message." The communications officer obeyed. She sent Krell's ultimatum to Earth, demanding immediate submission. Subin stood frozen in the corner, forgotten in the excitement. She couldn't believe it. Someone had actually answered her message. But now she had doomed them too. The Velians would crush these humans like they crushed everyone else. She needed to escape, to hide. In the confusion, she slipped out of the command center and ran. 10 days passed. Subin hid in the underground tunnels with other rebels. They had heard rumors of her transmission and the human response. Some were angry with her. "You brought the Velians' attention to our resistance," one rebel spat, "and you've doomed another species." Subin said nothing. They were right. On the 10th day, Velian alarms screamed across the planet. Subin and the other rebels huddled around a stolen data pad, watching the Velian military channels. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Tae Jin stood in the war room, surrounded by his officers. He was an old man, his hair white, his face scarred from the colony wars 30 years ago. He had fought humans then. Now he would fight aliens. "Show me the Velian ultimatum again," he ordered. They played it. Krell's arrogant face filled the screen. "Kneel before the Velian Empire or be annihilated. You have 10 days. Tae Jin watched it without expression. Then he turned to his staff. "How many battle groups can we mobilize in 1 week?" "Sir, mobilizing more than 5 would leave Earth's defenses dangerously thin," an officer warned. "I didn't ask about Earth's defenses. I asked how many we can mobilize." 17, sir. But that's nearly 40% of our entire fleet. If we lose them, we won't, Tae-jin said calmly. Because we're not going to fight a war of honor and glory. We're going to fight the way humans fight, with overwhelming force and no mercy for slavers. He walked to the window, looking out at the blue earth below. They think we're weak because we're young. They think slavery is acceptable. They're wrong on both counts. Send the mobilization orders. I want 8 dreadnoughts, 47 battleships, and all supporting craft. We leave in 6 days. Commander Hyun-woo commanded the dreadnought Seoul's Fury, the largest warship in Earth's fleet. When he received his orders, he assembled his crew. We're going to war, he told them. Not against humans this time, against aliens who keep slaves, who execute families for looking at them wrong. We're going to show them what happens when you ask humanity to kneel. The crew cheered. Hyun-woo didn't smile. He had studied the limited data on the Velians. They were warriors, but they fought for individual glory. Humans fought as a unified machine. That would be the difference. The Earth fleet assembled in orbit. 17 battle groups, 8 dreadnoughts, 47 battleships, 156 cruisers, 312 destroyers, and support craft. The largest military force humanity had ever gathered. Tae-jin broadcast a message to Earth before they left. We go to answer a call for help. We go to face an empire that believes might makes right. They will learn that humanity has plenty of might. But we also have something they lack. We have compassion. We remember what it means to be oppressed. We remember what it means to fight for freedom. We will not fail. The fleet entered slipspace, heading toward Velian territory. On Velia Prime, the Velian sensor network detected massive energy signatures approaching their space. Hundreds of ships moving together. The sensor officer reported to Krell. Sire, we detect large-scale slip-space distortions. Multiple contacts incoming. Krell waved a dismissive hand. Sensor errors. No species would dare attack us. Sire, the readings are consistent. Whatever's coming, it's big. Krell stood up from his throne. For the first time, doubt flickered across his face. How many ships? At least 500, sire. Maybe more. They're still too far away to get an exact count. The war room fell silent. 500 ships? That was more than the Valian home defense fleet. Impossible, Krell said. The humans have 12 colonies. They cannot field 500 warships. But deep in his warrior heart, Krell felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. The humans were coming, and they were not coming to kneel. The human fleet exited slipspace at the edge of Velian territory. 523 warships appeared in the darkness of space, their running lights creating a field of stars where none had been before. Commander Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the Seoul's Fury. The massive dreadnought was 3 kilometers long, bristling with railguns and missile batteries. Around it, the rest of the fleet formed perfect formations. All ships report ready, sir, his tactical officer said. Hyun-woo nodded. Send the message on all frequencies. The fleet broadcast in every language they had decoded from the original distress call. To the enslaved peoples of the Velian Empire, stay in your homes. We are here to help. To the Velian forces, surrender peacefully or be destroyed. You have 1 hour. On Talos III, a Velian fortress world on the border of their empire, alarms screamed. The garrison commander, a veteran warrior named Krax, stared at his displays in disbelief. How many? He demanded. Over 500 ships, Commander. They appeared from nowhere. Krax had defended this world for 20 cycles. He had crushed 3 rebellions and defeated 2 rival species who dared challenge Velian supremacy. He was not afraid of these humans. Scramble all fighters. Launch the defense fleet. We'll show these primitives what happens when they challenge the Velian Empire. 600 Velian fighters launched from the planet's surface. The Velian defense fleet, consisting of 40 warships, moved to intercept the humans. Krax expected the humans to slow down, to adopt defensive positions like all rational species did before battle. The humans accelerated. "Sir, they're not slowing down," a sensor officer reported. "They're moving directly toward us at maximum combat speed." "Good," Krax said. "They're foolish, eager for glory. We'll crush them quickly." On the Soul's Fury, Hyunwoo watched the Velian forces approach. "Time to target?" 4 minutes, sir. "Weapons free. All ships, engage on my mark." The human fleet split into 5 groups with practiced precision. Each group targeted a different section of the Velian formation. This wasn't a battle for honor. This was mathematics. "Mark," Hyunwoo said calmly. Space lit up with violence. Human railguns, firing solid projectiles at incredible speeds, tore through Velian shields like paper. Missile swarms, hundreds launched simultaneously, overwhelmed Velian point defense systems. The Velians fought back. Their energy weapons were powerful, burning through space with deadly precision. But Velian tactics relied on individual ship commanders making bold, glorious decisions. They broke formation to seek personal victories. The humans fought as one mind. Every ship knew its role. Every shot was coordinated. When a Velian ship focused on one human cruiser, 3 others would target it from different angles. When Velian fighters tried to swarm a single target, human point defense from surrounding ships cut them down. Krax watched his forces die and finally understood. These humans weren't primitive. They were the most efficient killers he had ever seen. "All ships, fall back! Reform defensive positions around the planet!" It was too late. The human fleet pressed forward, their formations perfect, their fire never ceasing. 47 minutes after the battle began, the Velian defense fleet was destroyed. 600 fighters became debris. 40 warships became expanding clouds of gas and metal. The humans had not lost a single ship. On the planet below, Subin and the other Kethran rebels watched through the stolen data pad. They saw human battleships fill the sky above their world, blocking out the stars. "They came," Subin whispered, tears streaming down her face. "They really came." An old Kethran named Vren, who had lived through 50 cycles of slavery, shook his head. "They came to fight. But can they win? The Velians control 47 worlds. This is just one." As if in answer, the human fleet broadcast another message. "Velian garrison on Kethra. Your fleet is destroyed. Surrender your forces and you will be treated as prisoners of war. Resist, and you will share their fate. You have 10 minutes. On Kethra's surface, the Velian garrison commander looked at his forces. 3,000 warriors. The pride of the Empire. But he had just watched the defense fleet die in less than an hour. He thought about fighting, about dying gloriously in battle. Then he thought about his family back on Velia Prime, about living to see them again. "We surrender," he said quietly. The other Velian officers stared at him in shock. "Commander, we cannot. The Empire just lost 40 warships in 47 minutes. The Empire doesn't understand what these humans are, but I do. They're soldiers, professional soldiers, and we can't beat them." One by one, Velian garrisons across 6 different worlds received the same ultimatum. Some surrendered, others fought. Those who fought died. Lieutenant Kaite flew his fighter from the carrier Incheon Dawn. His squadron had been assigned to provide close air support for the ground forces landing on Kethra. As they descended through the atmosphere, he saw the Kethran cities below. They were beautiful once. Now they were gray and broken, built to serve Velian masters. "All fighters, stay tight," Kaite ordered his squadron. "Intelligence says there might be Velian air defenses still active." They encountered 3 Velian fighter squadrons rising to meet them. The battle was brief and brutal. Human fighters were faster, more maneuverable. Kaite's squadron lost 1 pilot. The Velians lost everything. On the ground, Marine Commander J-Ho led the first wave of troops into the capital city. His orders were clear: secure the city, protect civilian populations, arrest Velian military forces. The Velians who chose to fight did so with desperate courage. They were warriors, trained from birth, but they fought as individuals, each one seeking personal glory. J-Ho's Marines fought as units, overlapping fields of fire, combined arms tactics. When Velian warriors charged, hoping to engage in honorable single combat, they ran into coordinated fire from 3 directions. In 6 hours, the capital was secured. J-Ho's forces suffered 37 casualties. The Velian garrison lost 800 warriors. Colonel Hei-Wan led a special operations team into the underground tunnels, following intelligence reports of rebel Kethrin hiding there. Her orders were to make contact and ensure they understood the humans were there to help. She found them huddled in a dark chamber, terrified. When her team entered, the Kethrin scattered, trying to hide. "Wait!" Hei-Wan called out in their language. "We're here to help. We answered your distress call." An old Kethrin male stepped forward slowly. "You're human?" "Yes. We received your message. We came as fast as we could." "You came to help slaves?" The old Kethrin seemed unable to believe it. "Yes." "Why?" Hei-Wan thought about that question. "Because you asked. Because it was right." A young Kethrin female pushed through the crowd. Her eyes were red from crying, her hands shaking. "I sent the message," Subin said. "I sent it 10 years ago. I never thought—" "You were brave," Hei-Wan said. "You saved your people." Subin collapsed, sobbing. Other Kethrin gathered around her, comforting her. They had lived without hope for so long that its return was overwhelming. Medic Yuna moved through the crowd, treating the wounded and sick. The Kethrin were malnourished, beaten down by generations of slavery, but they were alive. And now they were free. On Valia Prime, Imperator Krell received reports from 6 worlds. All attacked, all defeated. Some surrendered. Others fought to the last warrior. The humans had split their fleet and conquered 6 worlds in a single day. Krell's war master, an old warrior named Threx, studied the battle recordings. He watched the humans fight with cold efficiency. No wasted movement, no individual glory-seeking, just pure, calculated violence. "They've been fighting each other," Threx said quietly. "For a long time. These aren't explorers who learned to fight. These are fighters who learned to explore." Krell slammed his fist on the table. "Recall all fleets, every ship, every warrior. Bring them home." "We make our stand at Valia Prime." Threx nodded. He knew what was coming. The humans wouldn't stop. They would free every world the Valians had ever conquered. And then they would come for the home world. He just hoped they would show mercy when they won. Because Threx, veteran of 100 battles, knew the truth that Krell refused to accept. The humans were going to win. The human fleet divided into 7 task forces. Each one headed toward a different slave world. Admiral Tae-Jin commanded from his flagship, the dreadnought Earth's Promise, coordinating the liberation campaigns across multiple star systems. The pattern repeated on world after world. Human warships arrived. Velian defenses fought back. The humans won with terrible efficiency. Then came the ground forces, and that's where everything changed. On the Moru homeworld, Marine Commander J-Ho expected his toughest fight yet. Intelligence reported that the Velian garrison here numbered 10,000 warriors. They had fortified the capital city, turning it into a fortress. J-Ho's assault began at dawn. Human artillery, positioned on the hills surrounding the city, opened fire. Not on the city itself, but on military installations outside it. Precision strikes that destroyed Velian weapons while avoiding civilian areas. The Velian commander, hoping to draw the humans into close combat, where Velian strength and ferocity would matter, sent his warriors out to meet them. It was a slaughter. Human combined arms tactics obliterated the Velian counterattack in 2 hours. Tanks, infantry, air support, and artillery worked together like parts of a single machine. When the Velians retreated back into the city, they had lost 3,000 warriors. Jeho sent a message to the Velian commander. "Surrender now. Your position is hopeless. We don't want to fight inside the city. Too many civilians will die." The Velian commander's response was defiant. "We are warriors of the Empire. We will fight until our last breath." Jeho sighed. "Then we'll do this the hard way." His forces surrounded the city. They cut off power, water, and communications. They waited. 3 days later, the Moru slaves inside the city rose up. They had been waiting for a chance, any chance, to fight back. With the Velian garrison weakened and distracted, they attacked from within. The Velians found themselves fighting a two-front war, humans outside, slaves inside. It lasted 12 hours. When it ended, the Velian garrison had surrendered. Jeho walked through the city, past celebrating Moru. They danced in the streets, crying and laughing. Children who had never known freedom played in the sunshine. An elderly Moru approached him. "You freed us. Why? What do you want in return?" "Nothing," Jeho said. "We want nothing. Your world is yours." The old Moru stared at him, confused. In their experience, powerful species always wanted something. "I don't understand." "You will," Jeho said. "In time." On Kethra, Colonel Haywan's Special Operations Team had been working with Subin and the rebel Kethran. They had intelligence about Velian supply caches, hidden bases, and the locations of captured Kethran being held as political prisoners. "There's a detention center 50 kilometers north," Subin told Haywan, pointing at a map. "The Velians keep important prisoners there, my people who spoke out against them, artists, teachers, anyone they thought was dangerous." "How many prisoners?" Haywan asked. "Maybe 2,000. "How many guards?" 300 Velian warriors. It's heavily defended." Haywan studied the map. A direct assault would cost lives, both human and Kethran. "We'll need to be smart about this." She planned a night raid. Her team would infiltrate the facility, disable the defenses, and secure the prisoners before the Velians could harm them. It was risky. But these were people who had suffered for speaking the truth. They deserved rescue. The raid launched at midnight. Haywan's team moved like ghosts through the darkness. They disabled the power grid, plunging the detention center into blackness. Night vision equipment gave the humans a massive advantage. The Velian guards scrambled to respond, but they were blind, confused. Haywan's team took down sentries silently, secured key positions, and opened the cell blocks. 2,000 Kethran prisoners stumbled out into freedom. Many were weak from mistreatment. Some had been imprisoned for decades. Subin went with the rescue team. When they opened the cells, she searched frantically for familiar faces. Her aunt, her childhood teacher, friends she thought were dead. She found them, thin, scarred, but alive. "Subin?" her aunt whispered, barely recognizing her. "How?" "I sent a message into space," Subin said, crying. And someone answered. Medical Officer Yu Na set up a field hospital at the detention center. The freed prisoners needed immediate care, malnutrition, untreated injuries. Some had been tortured. Yu Na worked tirelessly, treating patient after patient. The Kethran were terrified of her at first. She was an alien, a stranger. But she spoke softly, moved gently, and her hands brought relief instead of pain. An old Kethran male watched Yu Na work. "Why do you care?" he asked. "We're nothing to you." Yu Na looked up from bandaging a wound. "Your people, that's enough." "But your people are warriors. We saw what you did to the Velians. You fight like demons." "Yes," Yuna said quietly. "We can be terrible in war, but that's why we must be kind in peace. balance, understanding. We remember what it's like to suffer. Across 7 worlds, the liberation continued. The Bashnai were freed from mining colonies where they had worked until they died. The Roth were released from agricultural worlds where they had grown food they were never allowed to eat. 12 more species, all slaves to the Velian Empire, all freed within 3 weeks. On his flagship, Admiral Tae-jin reviewed the reports. 7 worlds liberated, 14,000 Velian warriors killed in combat, 8,000 captured. Human casualties, 217 dead, 643 wounded. The numbers sickened him. War always did. But he thought about the freed slaves, hundreds of thousands of people who could now live their own lives, choose their own futures, raise their children in freedom. It was worth it. He sent an envoy to Velia Prime, Ambassador Dong-Wu, a diplomat who had negotiated peace treaties between human colonies during the colony wars. Dong-Wu carried a message from Earth. The message was simple. The Velian Empire is finished. Your slave worlds are free. You have lost this war. But you can still choose how it ends. Abolish slavery throughout your remaining territory. Release all conquered peoples. Stand trial for your crimes against sentient life. Do this, and we will accept your surrender. There will be no invasion of Velia Prime, no more death. Refuse, and we will free every world you have ever touched. The choice is yours. Imperator Krell received the human envoy in his throne room. He read the message while Dong-Wu waited. Then Krell laughed. It was a terrible sound, full of rage and humiliation. The humans want us to surrender, to stand trial like criminals. We are the Velian Empire. We have ruled this sector for 400 cycles. You were the Velian Empire, Dong-Wu said calmly. Now you're a broken power clinging to past glory. Accept these terms. Save your people from more death. Krell stood up from his throne, his 4 arms spread wide. I reject your terms. The Velian Empire will never kneel to primitives. We will fight. We will die as warriors, and we will take many humans with us. He gestured to his guards. They grabbed Dong-Wu. Execute him, Krell ordered. Broadcast it on all frequencies. Show the humans what happens to those who threaten the Empire. War Master Threx stepped forward. Imperator, this is unwise. Executing an envoy is my decision, Krell roared. I am the Emperor. My word is law. They executed Dong-Wu in the palace courtyard. Broadcasted across known space, the human ambassador died with dignity. His last words a message to his family. On the Earth's promise, Admiral Tae-jin watched the execution. His face showed no emotion. Around him, his officers waited for orders. Recall all task forces, Tae-jin said quietly. Consolidate the fleet. We're going to Velia Prime. Sir, they'll have recalled their entire military. It'll be their strongest defense. I know. Tae-jin looked at the image of Dong-Wu's body on the screen. The ambassador had been a good man, a friend. Send a message to all freed worlds. Tell them we're finishing this. Tell them we will free everyone the Velians ever conquered. Every world. Every person. He turned to his fleet commanders. They think we're cruel. They think we're ruthless. They haven't seen anything yet. We're going to show them what happens when you ask humanity to kneel. We're going to show them what happens when you execute our people. The entire human armada began moving toward Velia Prime. 300 warships carrying the combined fury of a species that had learned long ago that freedom was worth any price. On Velia Prime, Krell watched them come. His defense fleet had assembled. 300 Velian warships, the pride of the Empire. Every warrior they had left. It would be the greatest battle in galactic history, and Krell still believed he could win. The human fleet exited slipspace at the edge of the Velia Prime system. 300 warships, carrying 40,000 Marines and crew. They had come to end an empire. Waiting for them were 300 Velian warships, every military vessel the Empire had left. Behind them, Velia Prime hung in space like a red jewel. Admiral Tae Jin stood on the bridge of Earth's Promise. Around him, his command staff worked quietly. No one spoke unless necessary. They all knew what was coming. Velian fleet is holding position around their homeworld, the tactical officer reported. Defensive formation. They're protecting their planet, Tae Jin said. They have to. If they lose here, they lose everything. Commander Hyun-woo's voice came over the command channel from the Soul's Fury. Admiral, we're in position. All battle groups report ready. Hold position, Tae Jin ordered. Send one final message to the Velian fleet. The communication went out on all frequencies. This is Admiral Tae Jin of Earth Fleet. You have one last chance to prevent more death. Surrender your forces. Your empire is finished. Your slave worlds are free. You cannot win this battle. Choose life over death. Choose your families over glory. On the Velian flagship, Emperor's Wrath, War Master Threx received the message. He was old now, scarred from 100 battles. He had fought for the Empire his entire life. But he was also wise enough to know the truth. The humans were right. The Velians couldn't win. He turned to his communication officer. How long until the Emperor receives that message? He's listening now, War Master. Threx nodded. He knew what Krell would say. On Velia Prime, Imperator Krell heard the human message. Around him, his advisors waited nervously. The civilians on the planet below watched the sky where 300 alien warships had appeared. Send our response, Krell said. His voice was cold, certain. Tell them the Velian Empire has never surrendered. Tell them we choose death before dishonor. One of his advisors, an old civilian administrator, stepped forward. Imperator, please. Think of our people, our families. We can rebuild. We can... Krell struck him with one massive arm. The advisor fell, bleeding. We are warriors. We do not beg for mercy from primitives. We fight. He gave the order to his fleet. All ships advance. Destroy the humans. The Velian fleet moved forward. 300 ships against 300. But numbers didn't tell the whole story. War Master Threx had studied every battle the humans had fought. He understood their tactics now. He had reorganized his fleet, trying to copy their coordination. He had trained his warriors to fight as units instead of individuals. It wasn't enough. The battle for Velia Prime began at 1437 station time. It would last 9 hours and become the bloodiest battle in human military history. The Velian fleet fought with desperate courage. Threx commanded brilliantly, using every tactic he knew. His ships worked together, covered each other, fought as the humans fought. And for the first time, they inflicted real casualties. The human cruiser, Busan's Pride, took 3 direct hits and exploded. The destroyer Pacific Storm lost engine power and drifted into a Velian missile barrage. The battleship, Moscow's Hammer, rammed a Velian dreadnought when its weapons failed, destroying both ships. On the Soul's Fury, Commander Hyun-woo fought his ship through a storm of fire. A Velian flagship, commanded by Threx himself, engaged him in a brutal duel. The two ships hammered each other. Railgun rounds tore through armor. Energy weapons burned through hulls. Hyun-woo's ship shuddered with each impact. Shields at 30%, his tactical officer reported. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Keep firing, Hyun-woo ordered. All weapons, don't stop. The Soul's Fury and the Emperor's Wrath circled each other like ancient duelists. Both ships were dying, but neither would retreat. Finally, a lucky shot from the Soul's Fury penetrated the Emperor's Wrath's reactor shielding. The Velian flagship began to break apart. Threx, wounded and dying, sent one final message to Hyun-woo. You fight well, human. With honor. You too, Hyunwoo replied. The Emperor's wrath exploded. Threx died as he had lived in battle. But the cost was terrible. The Soul's fury was crippled, drifting in space. Hyunwoo had lost half his crew. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The humans were winning, but the Velians were making them pay for every meter of space. Lieutenant Kaite flew his fighter through the chaos. His squadron was trying to disable the planetary shields so the ground forces could land. Velian fighters swarmed them, fighting with suicidal bravery. "Stay together!" Kaite shouted to his squadron. "Cover each other!" They fought their way through to the shield generators. Kaite lined up his shot, fired his missiles, and watched the massive installation explode. The planetary shields flickered and died. "Shields down," Kaite reported. "Marines, you're clear for landing." Marine Commander Jae-ho led the first wave down to Velia Prime. The Velian Imperial Guard met them on the landing field. These were the Emperor's personal warriors. The best the Empire had. They wore ancient armor and carried ceremonial weapons alongside modern guns. The battle that followed was vicious. The Imperial Guard fought for every building, every street, every room. They knew they would die. They just wanted to take as many humans with them as possible. Jae-ho's Marines advanced slowly, taking heavy casualties. The Valians wouldn't surrender, wouldn't retreat. They fought until they were killed. In 6 days of brutal ground combat, the Imperial Guard died to the last warrior. 10,000 Velian elite troops, all dead. Jae-ho had lost 800 Marines. On the 6th day, his forces reached the Imperial Palace. Imperator Krell waited inside, alone. His advisors had fled. His warriors were dead. He sat on his throne, a bottle of poison in his hand. When the human Marines broke through the doors, Krell looked at them with contempt. "I will not be taken prisoner. I will not stand trial. I am the Emperor of the Velian Empire, and I choose my own death." He drank the poison. Died in his throne room, the last emperor of a broken empire. Jae-ho stood in the palace, looking at Krell's body. He felt no triumph, no joy, just exhaustion and sadness. Outside, in orbit, the last Velian warship surrendered. The battle was over. Admiral Tae-jin reviewed the final casualty reports. The humans had lost 14 warships destroyed, 38 damaged, 3,000 crew dead, 7,000 wounded. The Velians had lost everything. That evening, Tae-jin found the surviving senior Velian officer. It was a ship captain named Vorn, wounded but alive. The humans had treated his injuries and held him as a prisoner of war. "Why?" Vorn asked. "We killed your people. Why save me?" "Because the war is over," Tae-jin said, "and because you're a prisoner of war, not a criminal. You fought for your empire. That doesn't make you evil. But we kept slaves. We oppressed entire species." "Yes, and those responsible will face justice, but not every Velian is a slaver. Not every warrior is a war criminal. We know the difference." Vorn stared at him. "I don't understand you humans. You fight like demons, but you show mercy like people who have been where you are," Tae-jin finished. "We've fought wars. We've lost wars. We know what comes after. Revenge only creates more war. Justice brings peace." 1 year later, the galaxy had changed. Subin stood in the Earth Embassy on Kethra, wearing formal robes. She had been chosen as the Kethran ambassador to Earth. She still couldn't quite believe it. The 7 freed species had formed the Coalition of Free Worlds. Each world governed itself, but they worked together for mutual defense and trade. Human ships patrolled their space, protecting them from anyone who might think them easy targets. On Velia Prime, War Master Threx's protege, Captain Vorn, helped lead the transition to democratic government. It was hard. Velian culture had been built on conquest and slavery for centuries. But slowly, painfully, They were changing. The Valian people, freed from their emperor's tyranny, were learning to live without slaves. Some resisted, some embraced the change. It would take generations to heal. Commander Hyun-woo recovered from his wounds. The Soul's Fury was repaired and returned to service. He retired from active duty and became an instructor, teaching young officers about the cost of war. Lieutenant Ki-tae continued flying. He led a squadron that patrolled coalition space, ensuring no new empires rose to threaten the freed worlds. Colonel Hae-won became the Earth military liaison to the coalition. She worked with the freed species to build their own defense forces, so they could protect themselves. Medic Yuna stayed on Kethra, helping set up hospitals and medical schools. The Kethron people loved her. She had become a symbol of human compassion. Admiral Tae-jin retired. He was old, tired, and haunted by the 3,000 crew members who had died under his command. He gave one final speech before leaving service. "We went to war because someone asked for help. We freed 7 species because it was right. But we lost people. Good people. People who believed that freedom was worth fighting for. I hope we never forget them. And I hope we never forget why we fought. Not for glory, not for conquest, for justice." 3 months after Tae-jin's retirement, another signal reached Earth. Deep in uncharted space, another enslaved species had sent a distress call into the void. The new fleet admiral, Hae-won, received the message. She read it carefully. Another empire. Another slave system. Another cry for help. She stood before the Coalition Council, humans and aliens working together. "We have a decision to make. This signal is far away. Outside Coalition space. We would be risking our forces in unknown territory." Subin stood up. "May I speak?" Hae-won nodded. "1 year ago, I sent a message I never thought would be answered," Subin said. "I had lost hope, lost faith, but someone answered, someone came, and my people are free because of it. If there is another species out there suffering as we suffered, don't we have a responsibility to answer?" The council voted. It was unanimous. Fleet Admiral Hae-won gave the orders. "Prepare the fleet. Someone needs us." The warships assembled in orbit, not just human ships now, but Kethran vessels, Moru cruisers, Bashnai fighters. The coalition fleet, united in purpose. They would answer the call. They would free the oppressed. They would fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves, because that's what humanity did. And now it's what the coalition did too. In the darkness of space, hope traveled at the speed of light, carried by warriors who knew both the cost of war and the value of freedom. The story of the distress call that changed the galaxy was just beginning.